Hello, this is Jouni Juurila from Floorball Made Simple, and today we have a video that focuses more on the defending side, because you have wished for us to focus more on the defense, so we will begin by analyzing different kind of forechecks and what are the easiest gate openings to take away from the opposition. So how are we able to destroy the middle zone offense that the opposition is playing? In this video, of course, that we are not able to describe to you all the ways and the best ways on how teams are opening up the game, but we will showcase to you how do we close out the most simplistic ones and the options, most easy options from the middle zone offense. And this is a good video for the coaches and the players as well, if players also want to increase their awareness of defensive play. So let's begin from the exact start and from the very basic infos. What is defending? Defending is, of course, obviously about having an intention of preventing opposition from scoring. You want to regain the ball to your team. Some teams want to regain the ball possession right after they lose it, and some teams might want to delay that a bit and let the opposition's formation open up and the distances between the players of the opposition increase, so there will be lots of space between their formations. So some teams tend to look for the openings and strike then, so you can gain the ball control right away or a little later on, regarding on how you want to play your defensive play. You want to limit the opposition from having any good angles and good options available in the field. So you want to get the best options out from the players with the ball and without the ball, and cause them to have very, very hard situations in the field. And you want to be able to push the players into spaces where you want them to be and into angles that you allow to the players, because at every moment, and no matter how you're forechecking, the player always has some options that he or she can pick up. So you need to play and organize your defense in a way that only the worst angles and spaces are open. And if you are not choosing any plan or approach on what spaces you allow for the opposition and where are you trying to take them, you are defending the whole field, which is 800 square meters. So that is almost impossible to do. Then the term forechecking. It is basically a hockey term, which is a rather faster to use than always describe the defending that happens in some section of the field. But the sections of the field, how you can forecheck in, they are offensive zone, defense, middle zone, defense, and defensive zone, defense. So 3/3 of the field you can forecheck on any of those, and you can choose a tactic and approach for your team that the height of the forecheck differs, and by doing so you will allow some space in the field, but you are attempting to close other spaces in the field. 3 key ways to forecheck. There are those where you go full out, all in presses in every situation. Then there are pressing from triggers. Then there are the steering forechecks, where you're trying to direct the play into the side you want. And the fourth key way to forecheck is also the counter pressing, which is a growing trend in modern floorball these days, which means that in the moment of a negative transition, you attempt to regain the ball right away. So you start to prepare for the negative transition and get the ball back. Points, spaces, and moments to strike need to be very clear for everyone in the field. It is the responsibility of each and every player in the field. All 5 players need to be active in some shape or form in the forecheck. but you need to choose what you are aiming for, what points of pressure and strike you want to get, and what are the spaces where you want to recover the ball. Those need to be precisely known before the games. And in some situations, when you choose a forechecking system, some players and playing positions have a higher role on that, creating the pressure. For example, if you attempt to go really high, almost all in press, it begins by the wingers. So they have the major role of beginning the first strike on the ball. But if you are choosing a lower park the bus kind of formation, then your defenders will have a more major role. So you need to take into account that who are the players that need to take the first active intention for the press according to your choice for the formation and how high are you going to go. Then a very philosophical question: are the chess pieces the big deal? Let that sink in for a while. So, are the chess pieces, if you could see the formations and players in the field as you would be a some sort of chess master. Of course, playing and coaching is never like that. But if you see the game like that, what is the big deal? Is it the chess pieces in the field, or is it something else which creates a great defense? And the very simple answer is no. In my opinion, the formations, of course, they create the starting point. Exactly the same thing as attacking the formation and structure. It creates a starting point where you get to work. But the work itself, it is made by the individuals and how good decisions the individuals are able to make. Those are the most important ones if you want to create a really good defensive system. The selection of the formation, where to steer, what are the points to strike, the points of pressure, they are always related on the way how the opposition team is trying to play. So you can never choose some tactic that we are always going to go with this form, because if the opposition is opening the game up in a whole different manner, that is wrong choice. In every formation, some player or a playing position has a bigger role, as we discussed earlier, about that first hit, first stiff pressure to the ball. In all forechecks, no matter how low or how high they are, there needs to be a certain level of pressure in the ball. In all forechecks, you need to be able to force the opponent's players into worse space than they were already. So you are trying to, no matter what you are looking for in the forecheck, you need to be able to make their decisions harder. And you need to be able to push them into some more difficult spaces and situations to play in. And no forecheck will ever work if all those aspects above are not done properly. And if somebody is relatively new to coaching, here is a list that it's very roughly put, a very straightforward way to present these. But here's a list of different kind of very basic forechecking formations you can pick up to your team. There is, of course, way more sophisticated ones than these, but these are the most basic ones. And in Finland, we describe these in this order, that the highest player in the field is the first one. So when I'm talking about 1, 2, 2, it means that there's one striker, 2 in the second line and 2 in the third line. So 1, 2, 2, that's the most basic one and most traditional formation to forecheck. Then there's the W, then there's the 2, 1, 2, then there's the 2, 2, 1, 1, 3, 1, and all of these can include, for some players in their positions, more orientation to the player that they're defending, so that is player marking, or more zonal emphasis. So those are the counterparts to each other. More man marking or player marking or more zonal marking. All of these can be low, mid, high, or high, but nevertheless, which of these you will choose to your team or choose to your team, all of these will sacrifice some space in the field. And all of these formations, no matter what the numbers and chess pieces are on the board, you can differentiate all of these to look like totally different. What I mean by this, a basic 1-2-2 forecheck, for example, if you are looking for certain things in that, it will look like totally different when you're emphasizing some other things in there. And I will now show you different ways how you can differentiate all of those. So the first option is the plain and simple steering. So you choose some part of the field where you are not allowing the opposition to go. And then you have some side and area of the field where you want them to go. Then you can utilize pumping forecheck, which means that one of your wingers is going higher and then the opposite side winger is going lower in the field. And this is preventing the players with the ball to progress and you are forcing them to pass in a horizontal way. So they are doing wide passes that usually don't lead to anything dangerous. This is a good way if you're pumping with the forecheck that you can force the players of the opposition team to bad positions with the ball and to make bad decisions as well. Many teams look for certain triggers from where to activate a higher press or push from the lower level of the forecheck into a higher level, into higher height of the forecheck. Those triggers may be bad pass, slow pass, bouncing pass, a weak player on the ball with not very soft gloves in their hands, and or into a bad playing position, which means that their body direction might be bad and their back might be facing your team's goal. So then there is a good moment to hit the higher pressure. There are these full out, flat out pressing systems where you go at every moment to a high height in the field. So forwards go all in to pressing regardless what kind of player there is on the ball and in what kind of positions they are. Are they facing the field or is their back against the field? And if the opposition has very skilled defenders, this might not be wise. But if your team is losing or there's a big difference between your teams, then it might be a good way to activate your team and get the game flowing a little more. Okay, and then to the examples. This is, in my opinion, the easiest one to take away from the opposition team. So the defending team is always the blue-colored one in these pictures. And the attacking team, which is opening the game, is the the black one. And this is the easiest way to take that game opening style away. So the black team is attempting to open up the play with 3 players low in the field with this bottom triangle where there is only 1 player in the bottom and 2 wing receiving players. And then they have 2 players in the depth. This is a really easy one to pick out. The highest, the top forward that has the most majority of the steering responsibility there, he or she is picking up the passing lane from the player with the ball to our right hand side, looking from our goal. So we want them to go to the left side and prevent them from going to the right side. Then just the left winger opens up a little bit that wide pocket and approaches from the center of the field. We are looking for a moment where the bottom player plays a pass to the side pocket and then good and stiff side or back checking pressure to the player. And you should always, when you are forechecking in this matter, agree at least 2 or 3 points of strike. Where are you going to place the biggest hit and the biggest pressure on the ball? Where are you wanting to intercept the ball? And as in the previous picture, we were describing the very traditional one, the way to do the W in a very traditional way, where they usually tend to steer the player to the left-hand side, looking from their perspective. But you can do it in the other way around, which means that your left winger will now be the top forward and the right winger will be a little lower and opening the right wide pocket to the opposing team. So the whole formation shifts. Your center player is now more orientated to the player on his or her left. And we are looking for them to go to the right hand side. And if somebody has been coaching for a long time and using the traditional W, you might be thinking, God damn boy, you can go that direction. But it's no big deal. If the opposing team is getting to shred your forecheck into small little pieces, when you try to or steer them to the left hand side, then mixing it up, changing it to the right hand side, and see that how will they cope there. And who gives a shit about these formations and where you are steering them? That why would they always have to be into the same direction? It's only little positioning. Some player is higher, some player is lower, and then you decide to take the opposing team to the sides of the field where they are not as strong as in some other spaces. And if you want to change that steering side, this needs to be trained well in practice before just grabbing this out of your hat during a game. Then in this version, the opposing team is having this, I call it a top triangle in English. It's quite hard to translate directly from Finnish, but there is a wide defender line and one player providing support to the center. I'm not saying that that should always be the center player, the center forward, because the playing positions will shift. But one player is providing the support to the center. So the easiest way to pick this out is to utilize a pumping system. So you're trying to force with your first line of forwards the opposition to do those wide passes that lead to nowhere. One goes to the ball and tries to push the player in the desired direction. I'm not describing that in more detail because there is a bunch of ways where you can drive the player, but the main thing here is that you try to drive the player into some way or direction that you have chosen. And then the opposite side winger is a little lower on the field. So if he or she is lower on the field, it looks like the wide pass is an easy option. Right after the pass is played, or a little before that, the opposite side winger goes either to press the player receiving the wide pass or tries to intercept the pass. And one player takes care of the center player right over there. And you can apply different kind of triggers. As we told earlier, a bad pass, slow pass, weak player on the ball, bad playing position. So you need to look for those signs when you are doing the forecheck in the first line that when there is a best golden moment to strike and apply higher pressure, push forward into higher pressure. Whew, this is an easy one also. This is like picking up strawberries in the summer. You know, you go to this beautiful field and pick up few fruity strawberries there and they taste delicious. And this is exactly like that. If the opposing team is opening up the game with a wide back line, then they have a second wide line and one player in the depth. And if they are really standing still or in very static movement and not moving or changing sides that much, this is a really easy one to take away from them. The first line of your team will play in the same pumping manner and they have those any kind of triggers that you have selected on from where they start to apply the higher pressure. The second line will be in like in a 2-2-1 formation where one of the players in the second line, the player that is from the ball side, comes to his player or her player and marks that closely. So the player that comes, that is the ball side second line player is responsible for the easiest ball side short pass. The opposite side second line player positions him or herself to the center of the pitch and is looking to intercept all diagonal passes to the player that is his or her responsibility. This is also a very traditional way to open up the game, but this is also very easy to mark with a forecheck. The team is utilizing the first line in this picture is utilizing a steering way to forecheck, so the right winger will be higher. The right winger closes down the passing lane to your right hand side and is trying to steer the bottom player, to the left hand side. Left winger is yet again looking for a opportunity to when the ball is played to the player that he or she is marking, and then applying the side pocket pressure. There is one player marking the player in the center and a second player in the second line as well. If the ball can be played to the right hand side and there the receiving player that is in the wing starts to drive with the ball, then the other one who does not have a player to mark here will go towards the player, and yet again all players are marked. I'm not sure that did I write that word in a proper form, but I'm not an English teacher. I'm a simple, very simplistic floorball coach. So hear me out. I call this a drive plus drop pass merry-go-round machine. I'm meaning that spinning machine in the amusement park. Everybody gets the image from this, right? But there are many teams that attempt to open up the game in this manner. This was a huge deal like 6 years ago, and all teams were doing this. But still, some teams are doing this. They have 3 players in a triangle and 2 players higher in the pitch. Then 1 player from the wing, and if it is most often the same side winger that drives. So if they do not drive from all the sides of the field, but rather from one side of the field, like in this picture, from the left wing looking at our perspective, player drives to the center, plays a drop pass to the lowest player, and then another player from the left fills that side pocket where the space is created. This is a super easy one to take out. I have drawn these little boxes into the field, so there are 3 boxes, and those are the moments of pressure or points to hit or points to strike. And I have utilized these many times. So the first moment to hit, of course, is preventing the whole drive to the center of the pitch. The second point to hit is the drop pass to the lowest player, because that ball or pass that is coming, it is coming above you, and there is a striker moving towards you. That's a really hard ball to take control of. If the pass is especially a poor one, or the winger applies the pressure well, that's a hard situation. So that's the second point to strike. And the third point to strike, a very easy strawberry to pick, is when the player is coming with the counter movement to fill that wide pocket, that your defender will follow that player and then hit the pressure or even intercept the ball. That is a really, really juicy point to strike. Then this is also a very, very traditional and simplistic way to open up the game, but the black team in this picture is utilizing the 1-3-1 game opening formation. They have agreed that they will do almost blindfoldedly this flank or 3-player line to some of those corners in the field. The team has decided to play, from our perspective, the 3-player line to the right hand side, looking from our view. So they play the ball from the bottom to the wing, then the player that is providing the center support moves to the flank, gets the pass, and then just blindfoldedly slams the ball to the corner. this is really easy one to take out from the opposition. If that pass goes into the direction where we do not want it to go, so if we are trying to steer them to the left-hand side, this has already gone a little wrong, this forechecking of ours, but then the center moves with the player from the center to the wide pocket, and there's the first moment to hit, and the last moment to hit is in the corner. So pressure the player that's receiving the pass to the corner, and they have no way out of the situation. And that is most, in my opinion, probably the worst way to open up the game, because they are only attempting to slam the ball to the corner, and they're using like players with 10 meters height differences between each other, and they are just jamming the ball to the corner by utilizing 10-meter passes. So that's really foolish, because you could just receive a simple pass to the width and then just slap shot to the corner, and you would end up in an exactly same situation, because the ball will in the end up to the corner, which is not a good situation. So this is a really easy one to take out from it. And this is the last example, but this is rather used quite often. So here the team that is with the ball has 3 players opening up the game and 2 players in the depth, and they have realized that the opposing team is using a W forecheck. So many coaches they convince the players to play these diagonal passes. Even one might say that you can play those almost standing still. Somebody wants them to drive with the ball to the center and then play that diagonal pass. If that goes across, well, then that's a good situation, because the player receiving the ball will be in a lot of movement towards the opposing team's goal. So that is a good choice. But this is rather easy to pick up. Only by using a W, but instructing your center player there to position him or herself a little lower on the field. And making this image to the player that's playing the pass, that the passing lane to the diagonal side is open. But then at the right moment, when the ball is played, then at the right moment, strike in between there and intercept the ball, and you have a tremendous turnover. So rather easy to pick out from the opposition. But if that is not working, you can just decrease the height. Just forecheck lower. If they can still get the diagonal pass through from there, that will not create anything, because there is not that much space anymore in the wide pocket, and it is way harder to do anything progressive from there, because the player receiving the ball will not be in that high movement, high speed, and they will not have as much space in front of them when receiving the ball to the diagonal side. So you can make that harder in many ways. And then in the beginning we asked a question that, are the chess pieces the big deal? Answer was no. But what is more important than the chess match in the field? Is there pressure on the lowest players of the opposing team? So no matter what kind of forecheck you're using, you need to have some sort of pressure applied to from a player that knows that it is his or her responsibility to provide that pressure in the moment. How big the pressure is on the pass receiving opposing team's players? Because the easiest way to pick up turnovers in floorball is by pressuring a player that is about to receive the ball, because they are unprepared to take the first pass, or they do not see the player that is coming to pressure them. That small moment, just those little fractions of a second, those can be very good moments to strike before the player receives the ball. How clever the pass interceptors are. Are they able to hide their intention to intercept the pass, or are they showing it? Like the passer on the field would see it an hour earlier that there is somebody trying to intercept the pass. Of course, that is way easier to read. If they have wit and they are able to hide their intentions even while defending, it is way harder. Ability to make up for your positioning errors is also very important. So that side and back pressure, if you have positioned in a wrong way, too deep in the field, or come to the 1 versus 1 situation from wrong side, it is really important that you still work. Go sprint towards a player that you were supposed to be defending against, apply good side or back pressure to the player. And then also those very small details on defending, on what angles are you approaching the player in the situation and that position. Because every angle where you approach the player will open up some space in the field, but what are you intending to do? What space are you trying to cover and where are you coming from? Are you coming more from the side, from the center, diagonally? What are you doing? So that needs to be instructed well in advance, that from what angle and direction are our defenders approaching their players. Okay guys, that was it for today. Thank you for watching. If you felt that this video was solid material, share this to your teammates if you were a player. If you're a coach, share this to your team so they can pick up something from this video. Like the video, subscribe to the channel and follow us on social so you will know right away when new content arrives. But hey, thanks for watching. Bye.